The only reason why I didn't is, oops, sorry. The only reason why I didn't is because I'm at work in the office and I was listening in.
Okay.
But yeah, so the current struggles that I'm having is getting people to say yes, or even just to get people to present to, so a lot of people would tell me, oh, well, you need to go door knocking. Some people say post on social media. I went door knocking. I do see people very successful with door knocking. Um, but my problem is I work 8:30 to 5:30, so I have to find some kind of time block to do it. But yeah, that's my main issue, is getting people to want to talk about it more and get a proposal.
Okay. Um, how many people have you met with? Or how do you meet with in a week on average?
Uh, maybe one
Okay.
or two tops. Yeah,
One or two
it's
a
not a
week
lot.
right now. Okay. And where are those leads coming from?
So one of them was a referral from someone that I did do solar for. He wanted it, and then he declined the virtual meeting. Haven't been able to reschedule with him. And then the other one was a solar lead that was given to me by the company.
The company you're working with.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Um, okay. And that one you met with them. And how'd that go?
He was comparing it with another company that he got a proposal from,
Yeah.
and his main problem was the annual percentage rate that we had 4.49, the other one had 3.99. So the gentleman that was working with me to help me with it was trying to explain to him sometimes other companies make up for it through dealer fees. And he was really fighting back on that. And he said that if we didn't get it down from 4.49 to 3.99, his answer was a hard no. So that one didn't go forward.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Now, okay, so there's a couple things here. Let me ask you this. When you first met with him, did you, bef when you first explained the pricing, did you lead off by letting him know, say, hey, this is the interest rate, but just so you know, there's also dealer fees included?
No, we didn't start off with that.
Yeah. So I lead off and I suggest reps to always lead off with that. And here's the reason why. One, if they're getting 3 or 4 proposals, you're the most honest person in the room. And at the end of the day, they'll probably go with you just because you're the only person that took time to explain to them that that 3 point something interest rate is 100% fake. It's not real. Um,
Mm.
Now, at the end of the day, then I would kind of you backtrack it and say, well, it's really not about the interest fee, right? It's more about, does the monthly payment make sense? Does this more make sense to you? And then at the end of the day, then you can bring it to, hey, yes or no? Is it a smart decision to go solar for you in your home? Are you taking care of your family better if they go solar by lowering their monthly bills or by lowering this bill? So you take it away from being about something like interest, especially in that situation. It's like, the end of the day, and I'll be very frank with our interest rates now, you should be able to beat a 3 point whatever interest rate with an 8 interest rate if you're selling it correctly, like every time. So it just comes down to, but that also, you're not getting enough repetitions in, based on the volume you're doing. So you're not getting the practice of that. And it sounds like perhaps you're not even getting the training that's teaching you how to overcome those objections and how to properly sell, in today's market, which is saturated with super high interest rates and dealer fees. So the truth is a 3.9 interest rate would probably equate to a 20 to 25% interest rate in reality, what that person's paying.
Yeah, we were trying to explain that to him, and he was very stuck on that. The other company was very transparent with him. He was going to pay $88 a month, and that that they were very transparent and he didn't want to hear anything more of it. So
Right.
yeah, it was
That's why
kind
you,
of hard to.
right.
Go
That's what
ahead.
I'm saying. If you lead with it, if you use it as a rebuttal, now it just sounds like you're trying to like win their business, right? And people will get defensive. But if you lead in with it, hey, just so you know, before I get into interest rates, let me just explain to you how this works right now. Then all of a sudden it's like you are how do I say it? You are setting that person at ease early in the meeting because they know again that you're the honest one. You're the one who's going to be upfront about how this all works, you know? Yeah.
Yes, I'll definitely take that into consideration for the next one. Thank you.
Yeah. And the second question, and then I'll go to you, Ron, is lead generation. So there's a lot of methods of lead generation uh, out there. I mean, have you considered either buying lead lists and either calling through those yourself or working with someone to call through those?
Yeah, actually, I just started with one just yesterday.
Who who
And
who did you get it from?
uh oh my gosh, what is it called? It's clean something. I can't think of the other part of it.
Clean energy
Clean.
experts?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. I'll be curious
Um,
on your feedback on them. I used them a lot over the years. Um, and I'll be very frank with you, they're one of the companies. So for those of you guys who don't know me, my name is Brad Stoller. I've been in the solar industry for over 13 years, and 10 of those I ran my own solar sales and installation company, which I sold a little bit less than 2 years ago. So I probably spent, I don't know, $50,000 to $100,000 with clean energy experts over the years. They were just one of many lead providers I've used, and they are one of the companies I will say that their lead quality was very shaky. So I did get times of great leads with them, and I got times where like I just felt like I was getting scammed, and that's not uncommon even for really good lead providers. I know, Wayne, you have more experience on that side of things, of why there's such inconsistency from lead providers like that, or lead lists. I don't know if you want to chime in a little bit on that. Wayne, I don't know if he hears me. Okay, we'll move on. I don't think he heard me. Wayne has been doing digital wholesaling and leads for a long, long, long time. But actually longer than anyone I've ever met. So so that's one option. So I don't mean to be negative on that, Marlene. I just want to let you know, like, I've had a very mixed experience with them over the years, and that doesn't indicate their quality isn't good now. It is my experience. Another option too is like, have you ever considered doing something like a digital door knocking, like joining like a door to door or the Facebook groups?
no, I don't think I've ever heard of that.
So Nextdoor is a really good one. It's an app. So Nextdoor is free. It's like basically people set up little communities. So you live in North Carolina, you could join the Nextdoor community in your territory or in your area. And you just say, hey, guy, and it's actually, use it like a resource. Use it to find babysitters. Use it to find someone to clean something around your house. Like that's what a lot of people use it for. Maybe people sell stuff on it. I'm not sure. But you just introduce yourselves. Hey guys, I'm a local. I live here. I'm a solar person. If anybody has any solar questions, feel free to hit me up. I'll give you my free unbiased opinion. And when you provide good feedback and content, that's something. Or even like the conversation we just had. Hey guys, I just want to let you know about a conversation I just had someone up in solar. As we know, the interest rates just hit a 22-year high or 27-year high, whatever the number is now. And so when if you're working with a solar company and they're telling you the interest rate is like 3 or 4%, what they're not telling you is a lot of hidden fees. So like stuff like that's great to post on those groups. They're like, wow, Marlene, this lady's so nice. She's just giving me free advice. I was just about to sign this agreement with a 3% interest rate, but I didn't know it was really a 22.6, right? Because someone wasn't being honest about the fees, but you're the honest one. You're the one who's not, covering it up, so those are two, two methods. We can come back to some other lead gen methods in a second, but I do suggest try that out. And Facebook, again, it's very similar as Facebook groups as well. You can do the same thing, like the local town groups or whatnot. All right, Ron, welcome.
How you doing?
Good, good. Have you joined us before?
No, it's my first time.
Okay, I thought your face looked a little familiar. Where are you from, Ron?
Right now, originally from Chicago, but I'm in Delray Beach, Florida.
Delray Beach, Florida. Okay, so we got, Wayne's in Florida too. Where's Delray Beach?
It's just 1 hour north of Miami.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty close to, I think. Wayne, is that close to you? Delray? I think Wayne's, I don't know if he can hear us. Okay. I think he's pretty close to that. And what are you in solar?
I'm in solar. I'm coming out of a 30-year insurance career.
Oh, we got two insurance folk on the call. Okay, Marlene on insurance
a lot
too.
of that was COVID, because in the insurance business, I used to do the seminars 3 times a month at Maggiano's.
Yep.
Sell big life policies, face to face for 30 years.
Yep.
And COVID came in Chicago, they shut it down. So we sold the home, moved to Delray, Florida, and entered looked around with opportunities, entered the space of Florida. So I'm in you probably heard it, Solar CEOs Mastermind.
Sure. Yeah, with Zane, those guys.
Yeah, better. That's my thing behind me.
Yep.
So I'm in that kind of training. Now I'm hitting the ground running. I'm cold calling. I have a Filipino caller. She's calling an aged lead list that I purchased. Yep. I personally call the bigger homes that I look up on True People Search.
Okay.
And my partner, who's standing outside the door, she's been my partner for 17 years. She's my partner with solar, but just to give you our experience, she was the number 10 credential agent in the country.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we can close that our issue.
Yeah.
And then I'll just give you a background. Once COVID hit, I studied digital marketing for 2 years and go high level.
Okay.
So I was selling to businesses during COVID, and then I flipped over to doing Facebook ads for realtors when the market was hot.
Okay.
Okay. And so that all obviously came to a halt. And so at this point, we have gone, 100% into solar.
So how long have you guys actually been selling?
We're only like 2 months in. I mean, literally,
And how you doing with the sales?
Yeah, so it's like we literally have an appointment. We go to our mastermind and say, hey, I've got a 51 kilowatt system for a surgeon, and it needs a tilt up kit and an embedded on clay tile. That's how deep we get in with this stuff.
Yep.
And so they're headquartered, obviously, their office is in Tampa.
Yeah.
And even 2 minutes ago, while we're on the call, my setter just set an appointment for a lady with a 984 house.
Okay.
$984,000 house. So I'm used to dealing with wealthy people,
Yep.
I'm used to asking people for $1 million checks. And so I go for the larger solar sales.
Yep.
And so what my whole goal was to come on with you, Brad, is, I've spent 2 years in the digital space. I have a Pakistan gentleman that's a Go High Level team. Right? I know Go High Level backwards and forwards on a team area. And my goal is, because I've seen your sales formula, between cold calling and having my caller go, once I can hit that 30 grand a month, okay, then I wanted to, add your marketing system on top. That was my goal.
Okay.
Quick couple questions, because you've been doing this 13 years. I'm obviously, my caller does age leads, because I bought like 5,000 age leads, and she's doing 1,000 calls a day. I mean, she's trained for 6 years, so it's not somebody I hired. I happen to know people from the digital space. So
Yep.
and literally, she's only been on the age lead list for 2 days. Okay.
Okay.
And so it's just, we're all just starting it up. But I know my long-term goal is, I with my background, I've cold called for 30 years. Okay. And give you an example, I cold called Christine Hefner. from the Playboy Enterprises. Okay,
What are you listening to?
so I'm a high-end cold caller. So right now I'm cold
Okay.
calling. I mean, I'm literally cold calling. And I'm going through gated communities of $1 million homes.
Yeah, I had a very similar business model when I ran my
No, no, no.
company. I did a lot of high-end homes, a lot. Yeah, a lot of
Right.
fun. Yeah. So what was your question though? Because I want to give other people a chance too.
Yeah. My question is,
What are you talking about?
gated communities, when you're doing the
Huh?
high,
That's the dude you were talking to on the
they're
phone?
not being hit by door
No.
knocks.
They're not being hit by what?
Do you prefer marketing to gated communities because they're not being hit by door knockers?
So what you can do, yes, you can actually buy, this is something that people don't do a lot. You can buy, housing data, and you can buy housing data based on the cost of a house too. So I worked with one company for a while, and that was exactly what they did. They were buying housing data, and you can filter it just like you can filter lots of other things. You could filter it by age of the home, how long has it been since someone's moved in, the price of the home. Some of the highest responding metrics are going to be how long they've been in the house. So if you can get a good list of, like, let's say that community, you can narrow it down and you can get all the people who moved in the last like 2 to 3 years, then those people will have a higher buy rate than people, 3 to 5, for example.
Right.
And in terms of marketing it towards high end or low end, they're just different. It's just different marketing, right? Because I know guys who kill it in lower end communities. I know guys, like, I work with Spanish speakers, and they'll work at a certain income level, but they're closing deals all day long because that's their niche. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So everyone's got like a different niche. So I do recommend it. And I would recommend, if you can buy a housing list and then filter it for those areas, I think that's a great method to do it.
Yeah, where would you get that list from? Do you know any?
I forget the name of the software program that you can get the list from. Leah, she's on our call. Leah, can you take a note and we'll send out the housing list to not the housing list. It is a subscription for this website. And it's like anything else. But once you pay the subscription, you're gonna have access to filter data and download those lists. Yeah. Yeah. And then you can buy those. It is raw though. So a lot of people, what's called, take it to another level and skip trace it, which
Right.
is another level you can do on the list to sort
Is
of
that
make sure
batch
it's more.
leads by chance?
Excuse me?
Does the company batch leads?
I'll have to verify. I haven't looked at it in a while. Yeah.
Batch leads does those kind of lists. I'm using there's a gentleman, a big solar guy, he created a new app called ProFlow.io.
Yeah.
And that lets you come in on Google Maps and then extract the data. So I'm extracting their credit score, their
Oh,
income,
nice.
whether they have a pool, and how long they've been in the home. So that, and then I put it through True People Search to get the wireless. It's called ProFlow.io.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I haven't heard that one. I'll have to check it out. So, yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been doing, going after the big homes and then turning the telemarketer on to the H leads. I
The
mean,
big homes, you also, if you can get into their communities, once you do a few, you'll end up, it can be some very good referral business too.
okay.
Yeah. And, are you doing any other auxiliary services besides solar as you're selling to them?
No, just 100% solar. And the two other things that we add in Florida, particularly, is because in Florida, for a 11.8 kilowatt system or larger, you need to have a homeowner's insurance.
Yeah.
So they have a partnership with State Farm now. They'll
Okay.
do that umbrella for $127.
Okay.
And
Nice.
number two, they now did a partnership with Brinks. So they can
Okay.
add security. So that's why I'm kind of in the higher area
Yeah.
values.
Yeah. Another company you can look into, we talked about it last week on the calls, ECO Stella, ECO Stella, and they provide efficiency controllers for central air systems. So you can go in there and say, hey, you're using 13,000 kilowatt hours, but I can put in the system, bring your home usage down to 11,000, not go over that measure. And so you're making multiple sales. So it's giving it a little bit more of a complete solution too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another, particularly in the higher end homes, it's like once you've got them as a client, they're usually much more open to talking about electric vehicle chargers, batteries, home energy efficiency. So if you have a
Okay.
suite of products, a lot of the guys, particularly in that community, they're going to say something like, Ron, what's your best product? What's your best inverter? What's your best package?
Right.
And you come in and say, well, I can do this for 85K, whatever, sign here. The guy says, okay, let's do it, because that's the mentality. They want the best panel. They want the best inverter. What panel are you selling there? Or what's your high-end panel?
It's the 390 Better Earth. They actually go to the 460, but pretty much 390s. They have the 2 choice panels.
Okay. Is it branded Better Earth?
It says it's Better Earth, and the factory's in Lakeland. But when I studied it real hard, it looks like they get the panels from somewhere else.
Yeah,
So
I'm sure no matter what, they're white labeling it. They're not doing it themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a pretty high volume company, so they're probably just white labeling everything.
Right.
But I'll be curious what panel that actually is. So
Yeah, we don't know because I know they show you Lakeland and the CEO walks through it and they kind of put they get their panels from somewhere else and stack them.
yeah,
Because I'm like, they are doing a ton of volume.
yeah, cool, man. All right, so I don't know if Ray or Joe joined next. I think it was you, Joe. Welcome to the AMA. Hi, how you doing today?
Thank you. I'm all right. Good to be
Great.
here.
Is this Joe in Nigeria, Joe?
Yes, Joe from Nigeria.
Oh, okay. That's great. Welcome to the call, Joe.
Thank you so much, Brad.
Good.
I appreciate it.
Do you have any questions today?
Not for now because I joined late, so I haven't listened today. So I have to get myself ready next time.
Okay, great. All right, so
Yeah.
over to thank you, Joe, for being here. Over to Ray. Welcome back, Ray.
Thank you.
Ray, I think you're muted. Hold on. Ray, I think you're muted.
Yeah. How about now? You hear me now?
Yep, I got you now. Loud and
Okay.
clear, buddy.
Yeah, I was just joined back because from last week when we talked, you said you had some kind of program that I could get to my sales guys that would save me a lot of time. So
Okay, correct.
that's
So yeah, I know
one.
we ran out of time last week. So
Mhm.
So one of the things that we do here is we offer a program called the Solar Blueprint. So what that involves is I put together a training. Well, after running the business for over 10 years and being solar for over 13, I basically had all the documentation of all my trainings. So this was for lead generators, cold callers, solar consultants, project managers, trainers, HR, all of that. And I put it together all in a singular training platform called the Solar Blueprint. So it's all made for solar. So it's not just the training, it's the 4 components that I found people need to be successful in this industry. So it was the training, it was the technology. So I developed the CRM over 10 years. So it wasn't like, oh, I went out and built it last week. It was like, no, we just kept on making it better and better. So we ended up having over 480 workflows, all sorts of template emails, template SMSs that are built into it. The third component was the leads. So we did partner with Wayne, who's on the call, but I know he's on another call right now. And he's been doing digital wholesale leads, one of like a few dozen people in the country who actually does this. But he's been doing it for other industries like financial services and whatnot. And now he's doing it with us for solar. And then the fourth component is the community. So it's just like-minded people who are looking to grow and scale their businesses. And that's what the Solar Blueprint is. Yeah.
Okay. So do you charge a monthly fee, or is there price for the program, or how does that work?
Wait, there is. So what we've tried to do is keep the fee about equivalent to like one average sales commission, and then a monthly fee for the, so you have access to the CRM and the training.
And can you say what that cost is?
Well, yeah, I guess I can. I don't usually get into it in these calls because I try to make it not pitchy. I try to just make it to be an opportunity for people to like ask questions. And if people want to, I will, yeah, I'll say this, but I think, we can hop on into like a one-on-one call or something. We can go into more details, but the program itself is 5,997. And that includes everything we talked about. And also some bonuses, like we include free leads in the beginning, like 500 free leads and a few other things. And then the monthly fee is the 297, and that covers the CRM and that. So I'll show you guys a little bit about what we do. Because again, I don't want to go too deep into it here, but like for example, this is a copy of the training program right here. This is sort of the behind the scenes look at it, but you can see we have trainings for cold callers, trainings for your verification managers, which are much more in depth, as you can see here. Everything from the 5 pillars to solar appointment setting, to how to qualify and disqualify a lead, scripts, how to talk about programs, appointment setting tips, to, how to call different types of leads, age leads. And we get into, trainings on different platforms, Interflow, Sonova, as well into like for a solar consultant, as you can see here. So the big sort of the foundation is everything built around the 5 P's of solar dominoes, which is how to go through an actual solar proposal. But we give you a mock presentation, it's all notated, and it's going to have this overview, how to do collaborative sales, which is basically, how do I sell solar without being like a scumbag? Like, how do I do this in a very honest, ethical way and still do a high volume, right? So we walk you through everything, steps to success, which is like each point of the solar consultation and why you should include it in there. And then in-depth trainings and all these things, everything from discovery to how to frame. So all this is included, as well as the bonuses, the 6 business models of solar professional services, where I break down things like, these are the insurances you should have. This is, how to work with a lawyer, when to work with a lawyer. These are, the type of company setups, to how to do communications within a company, to how to set up your company meetings and trainings so you can have like really highly, efficient company meetings. So you don't have to try to figure out all this stuff on your own. It's all part of the program. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I don't know if we're quite there yet. We're just, transitioning from subcontracting installs to trying to get the sales guys.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm a little bit of.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we teach too, is how to hire, how to onboard, how to attract them, what rates,
Right.
what the commission structure should look like. So these are all the things I know people, when they're new, they have questions with. So those are the things we.
Well, the thing is, like, so I've been doing sales for a lot of years, but I might have been doing it wrong all for a lot of years. So you don't know. So sales is a whole nother beast for me, because I've been doing electrical contractor for years. So it's you're dealing with contractors, and they're a different ballgame completely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. I just got signed up with Mosaic.
Yep.
Is there other companies that I should be looking for? Or is Mosaic good enough for what we got going?
So I would always say having 2 to 3 on hand. So here's the formula I would say: 2 to 3 finance companies, because those finance company rates and programs change all the time. And one day Mosaic's the best. The next day GoodLeap is the best. So the top 3 or 4 right now, in my opinion, since you already have Mosaic, look at GoodLeap. I've always liked them. They've been doing it longer than any of the other companies. And I really like their business model, and they accept low credit scores, and they do not have unlike a lot of the other companies with a hard hit on the credit, it's a soft hit on their credit when they do it for the homeowner. And they accept credit scores, I think, down to 630. Another one would be Dividend. And that's a good one. And Sungage is also another good one as well. So Dividend, Sungage, and then there's like Sunlight is another big one that's been out there for many years. But I would just say have 2 to 3 finance companies always available, because here's why. Mosaic for Sunlight, for example, which has been one of the largest solar loan providers for the last several years, in many territories is no longer offering you an M1 payment. So that's a first payment. You have to wait till the install. But if they're your only provider, then you end up with a may not be in a good cash flow position for you guys. Other things that can happen is one company may be offering some really interesting or some really good sort of promotion, like 6 months, no payments or something, right? Now, if your competition now has like 6 months, no payments, and you don't have access to that same loan, you may lose that deal, right? So it's always nice to have a couple options available so you can, win, each bid. The other 2 parts of the formula I would have is have a leasing provider, either Everbright or Sonova or SunPower. Those are the 3 big leasing providers. And having a local bank or credit union you work with.
Yeah,
The
right.
latter, I do have one that's national, and all the finance companies I mentioned, all of them, right now, because of the high interest rates, are in general offering really high dealer fees. So if you're trying to sell it, like Marlene and I were talking about in the beginning, if you're trying to sell a 3.9 or a 4.9 loan, that 4.9 loan still may have a 19% dealer fee in addition to the interest rate. So it's not really a 3.9, it's really a 24.9 or something like that. So when you work with a local bank or a credit union, a lot of times they may I have one which I can recommend, which I'll send out in an email. They only work to be, just so you know, for like Ron in the group and for Marlene, a lot of the times the financiers, not all of them, but many of them are only going to work with the EPC, the solar installer. They're not going to work with just the sales org by themselves, because they want to work with the company that's holding the warranty. So now that doesn't mean as a sales org you can't hold a warranty. I think I'll switch gears on this and talk about that, because it's something we haven't talked about before. But to answer your question, 2 to 3 finance companies, a lease company, and a local bank or credit union that does not have dealer fees. So something that's just a straightforward loan, but that's made for solar. That's not something where like the bank's going to be scratching their head.
When you're saying credit union, I'm already involved in a credit union. They would finance my customers,
I'm not saying yours would, but many will. Yeah.
so I would show them a contract, run the deal through them. And then
I would ask them and say, hey, do you have any type of residential loan program for solar or home efficiency, and just see what they have. Some will say, oh, it's very specific. It's only for these products. Others may say, yeah, we have something for general or for solar that you can use that's not going to have high dealer fees and, or no dealer fees usually with the local credit union. Yeah. So yeah, I would do that. I also send out I work with one national brand I'll send out, and they're a good option as well. It's nice to have something when you're talking with a customer, if they're like, well, I know there's dealer fees, there's high dealer fees. You have something that doesn't have a dealer fee. You're like, yes, I do. Now, with that said, you're going to be selling them a loan with an 8% interest rate, right? Or 7% or 6.9, depending on the credit. But it all goes back to those products can be sold. It's just a matter of training to know how to sell them, right? It's all about people understanding that, yes, they could refinance this in the future or something like that, So Yeah, but I do want to talk a little bit about that transition, which I haven't talked a lot about before, is transitioning from being just a solar organization, so a sales org, to being actually bringing in your own financing. I will say this, you can't do it in the beginning. Well, not saying you can't, it's hard to do it in the beginning. It's hard to do in the beginning because many of the solar finance companies, every finance company I mentioned that's solar, the SunGage, Dividend, Sunlight, Goodleap, Mosaic, all those companies are going to require a minimum of 6 months, if not some of them, maybe 2 years of, looking at your income loss statements, your balance sheets, and all that stuff, right? So if you've only been in business for less than 6 months, then you can't do it, right? But if you have those things, for someone like you, Ray, who's been in business, then, well, you're an EPC either way because you're doing your own installs, but it can be very hard. But here's the benefit for it. And this is where a lot of sales orgs don't realize they're leaving money on the table. There is a huge benefit towards bringing in your own financing if you can do it, because then you control the money. What happens with a lot of these relationships is people are working with another organization who controls the money. But if you control the money and you're getting funded directly, all the power is in your hands. So I would say one of the quickest things for you, Ray, is to make sure that every financial transaction, whether it's a cash customer, which they obviously pay you, or financing, or at least that the money is coming to you directly, not to another party, then to you. And that's going to open up your ability to, in the future, potentially work with distributors directly. So this is something for you, Ray, which, I would recommend. There's a lot of distributors in your area, which some of them you can work out agreements like CED, Consolidated Electric. What they have is called the Concert Program. And I liked this. And at first I was like, well, I don't want to do that. What they did was they would say, if I finance it with Everbright, which is a good financing and leasing tool option, they would say, if you use Everbright, then instead of you buying the solar materials for $15,000 from us, what we're going to do is the customer is going to sign a lease, let's say even a financing. So they're financing $35,000, $45,000 on the project, but you are going to buy those materials from CED anyways, right? And then you have to wait to get paid by Everbright, and then you pay the distributor. But because it's like this very open relationship, the way they do it with this concert is you put the sale in to CED and you show them that Everbright's the financer, and it's all linked together. So when the sale goes, everything gets approved for install, Everbright pays them. So you don't have to worry about your financer being slow and now you owe money to the distributor. So it's a nice way to keep that very large expense off the books. It doesn't mean I actually did not use it for the majority of my deals, but I did use it at times because it was very beneficial for certain things, particularly if you're in a territory where financing could be slowed down for certain reasons. And yeah, but it is something I do recommend, which is figuring out how to bring as much financing in-house as quickly as possible. Yeah. I saw Marlene, you sent a note saying someone came in and Ron had a run. So I don't know if you're still there, Marlene, but Ray, do you have any other questions?
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Cool, man. Cool. Well, yeah, man. Well, I hope to be able to, for you, Ray, maybe we can do some work together. I'd love to be able to help you set up and get you guys going. And I would say the first thing is bring those financing, as many finance options as you can online. That's going to be, a big help, because that's going to be step one. Step two would be able to choose a platform you're going to sell on. So, there's 2 or 3 really good platforms to choose from in order. As someone who's like just getting in ground level, I would look at Enerflow, ENER Flow, Enerflow. which is no relation to what ProFlow is, what Ron was talking about us earlier. So ProFlow is a source to buy leads. Enterflow is a platform that's built for EPCs. It has the solar proposal software built in. It has the closing documents built in, but it also tracks the projects itself. So it's almost like a project management CRM, sales platform, document center, just for solar. So I really like their business model. Solo is more popular and it's definitely what the sales orgs use out there. And Solo is really good, SOLO. And it's really good because it's easy to use for the reps. And you can also integrate your documents or closing docs into it. And they integrate well with the other thing that both Solo and Enterflow do very well is they integrate with your finance. So you with Mosaic, so they have a plugin that says, oh, you have Mosaic, and if you plug in Mosaic's 3.99 loan, it has the dealer fees already connected. They use like an API to connect it all. So it will instantly show you what the loan amount's going to be, and that's going to include the dealer fees. So that's one thing that is so necessary in choosing a tool. So Interflow, Solo, and then Aurora has kind of been the gold standard of solar design for a long time. But in my opinion, they're a little bit behind the other two in the integrations with finance companies, the proposal tool. And unlike Interflow, they're not really meant to be like an installation tool. Are you, Ray, if you're saying something, you're still muted.
We've been using Aurora for like the last year and a half, so we're used to Aurora.
Yeah. Now, do you have docs integrated and financing integrated into it, or?
No, not yet. No.
Aurora does have something called sales mode, which is nice. And sales mode will allow you to have sub accounts. And so like you bring on a sales org to sell red lines through you as the EPC. That is nice. But I'm not saying you have to change, but I think the other two would be a little bit easier for that. Yeah. The one thing I would say, I would recommend Enterflow of the three, but I will say this, if you do decide, because Solo is very convincing in getting people to use them. If you do decide to use Solo, just be careful if you have sales orgs, because both Aurora in sales mode and Solo in their sort of sales mode, but they call it something different. Let's call it a sub account, I think. Let's say they're charging you per proposal. So I think it's like $10, which doesn't sound like much, but if you have a sales org that's making 30 proposals a week, and then 10 of those a week, they're asking for redesign, that 30 times 10, $300, that can add up really quick. Those sort of hidden fees when you're offering that proposal for free to your sales orgs. So that's just something to watch out for. Interflow, I think, does it a little bit different. So it's just something when you do bring in those sales orgs to be careful of.
Okay.
Yeah. Marlene, are you still there?
I am still here.
Okay. So any other questions or comments on something we talked about or anything else?
Yeah, I know that right when you started talking about virtual door knocking, which you started with next door, and then right when you said that, that's when I had an interruption here at work. So I don't expect you to go through all of that again.
Okay.
Now, do you have a recording of this so I can kind of revisit that?
Yeah, we're gonna put the recording up on YouTube each week. We do put it up, so yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, besides that clean, you said it was clean. What did you say? Energy, right? Clean energy experts?
Yeah, clean energy experts. And I think in the recording, I may try to take that out because I don't want to be talking trash all about them. Because they're a good company. They're a good company, but I can just tell you my personal experience and the experience others have had with them is inconsistency. Yeah. And I probably have close to 10 years of experience just with them. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and you probably
they're
mentioned
kind
this.
of like, sorry to interrupt. They're kind of like Home Advisor. And the other one, oh man, the other one is, have you heard of this one, Ray? It's called Thumbtack. Have you heard of this one, Ray? What do you think of Thumbtack?
For us, it was basically a waste of time.
Okay, so yesterday I got an ad popped up on my phone, and the ad said something like this, and it said, "It's like, if you live in one of these 11 states, don't buy solar because the government's going to give you free solar panels, you know, at no cost. But make sure, you know, if you want to," and it says from Consumer Affairs.
I
So
think I've seen that.
yeah, so I actually recorded the ad and I filled out the form because I was like, okay, let's see what happens if I filled it out. So I have like a fake email I use for all this stuff, but I'm like, want to investigate. And I filled out the form and it went to Thumbtack. I was like, oh my. I was like, Thumbtack is using like super scammy, like maybe illegal forms of advertising right now for solar. I was
Oh, wow.
so disappointed because I was like, I needed something done in my house, and I was like, oh, let me use Thumbtack because they were advertising near me to get like, you know, repair like a sliding door. And I was like, wow, now I definitely don't want to use Thumbtack if they're going to be like that, you know.
Yeah, the problem is, I'm guessing, is a lot of these places are not good at generating like solar demand, solar leads. So they basically are relying on third-party companies. And at the end of the day, somebody buying the media, generating it all the way down the list. So unfortunately, those people push the envelope. That happens all the time.
Yeah. But Wayne, I do want to ask you something. I know Marlene, you're asking a question, but going back to something I was asking earlier, we were talking about clean energy experts, and I think the first time I bought from Clean Energy Experts was probably 2013. So I bought on and off from them for years and years and years. And they were incredibly inconsistent, Wayne. Sometimes I would get leads and they were great for like a month or two. And then I would have like a 2 or 3 month run where they would just absolute like trash. And then a year later, they would call me, Brad, we fixed everything. Try our leads again. So sorry about that experience you had. I would buy and they'd be fine. And then again, a few months later, they're trash again. So like, what is it with even some of these really big companies? They're good ones, but like they're just inconsistent.
So you were buying like at scale, like
I was buying purchase leads. I was probably dropping about $5,000 a pop, maybe sometimes a little bit more per lead for leads. Yeah.
yeah. So but getting like hundreds a month when you were
Yeah.
buying, right? Like okay, just making sure. I know it was probably the case. I just wanted to confirm, so it'd be statistically relevant actually. So a lot of things happen. So I don't know what happened in this particular instance, but you'll have a lot of lead generators and people, you know, peddling leads online, and they can't necessarily get a lead for a cheap enough price that makes sense to stay competitive. So what do? They can get a cheap lead from, I'm just going to use these examples. This is not indicative of these platforms, but it's probably the best example I have, is they'll use a cheap source of generating leads that are lower quality. In this case, I'll say TikTok, right? That doesn't mean that the leads for TikTok have to be this case. I'm just giving an example. And then they'll mix it in with a higher quality lead, which also costs more money to generate, and they'll blend them to try to keep the happy medium with the customer and get their costs down. That's unfortunately, you know, it depends on the blend that you're getting is going to affect your results. And one of the other tricks that they do in lead gen is they'll give you the good stuff first, right? So everybody's, you know, highly skeptical of every lead gen provider. Sorry, I can't talk today with my tongue, but can't use my words. But so everybody's pretty doesn't trust the new lead provider, right? Rightfully so. So they start working with them. They give them really good leads off of that expensive one. They might even take a loss on that because they can't generate it cheap enough, but then they'll try to mix that blend over time. So it's unfortunate, but it does happen kind of quite often. And then the other problem that it could be is, like I was just saying about Thumbtack, is you have wholesale lead providers, you have a whole bunch of people in the middle, and then you'll have the end buyer, the retail, the guy trying to sell a solar to you, and the company buying them at scale in your case. And between that is a whole bunch of levels of shit. So they could be a lot of reselling people. They could be relying on a whole bunch of different affiliates and partners and wholesale lead generators. And that's where people could be doing anything. It all depends on the batch that you're getting at that moment, because they might rotate them in. If they catch, let's just say they catch someone doing like Thumbtack did to you,
Yeah.
some ad that's super sketchy. Well, he might run for a while, and then they'll catch him, and then he'll still shut him down, and then they'll have to buy from somebody else instead, and that will change the quality.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's good insight, because it's just strange that there were the majority, not the minority, the majority of lead providers by far in solar were either inconsistent at best or outright scammy at worst. So yeah. There was a few good ones out there. Like I bought for solar reviews for 10 straight years, and they were more expensive, but at least I knew they were real.
Yeah.
And there were shared leads, but I never went over it being about 20% of my lead flow, 20-30% at most, because when you get into a situation where you're sharing leads, you're always in a competitive situation, and that's going to have a lower margin on those jobs. So yeah. So Marlene, you had a question. Sorry, I got off track there.
To be honest, I don't remember.
I was gonna say, did you forget it now? Like
I did,
always
yeah.
happens.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if probably you might have addressed it in this call on this call, so I might be able to hear it on the recorded. But yeah, I guess what my question was going to be at that time is, what would you recommend to someone like me that's got less than a year in, and to get some traction and get going?
I mean, it's all gonna you need, I guess the word practice, repetition, right? So I think because of your background in insurance, you'll be fine. It's just a matter of getting those reps in. So, if you got those lead lists, I know sometimes people like, the work of call centers and whatnot, but if you have the time, it may be worth making some of those calls yourself. And if you have the time, going on Nextdoor, going on a local Facebook group and starting to provide feedback and content to those areas. And that's good. The more conversations you can have on solar, the better. Like when you're new, you want to be having 10 conversations a day on solar. So like solar becomes, a part of you. Like when I first started out, in actually a pretty good way, which was I was one of those guys at Home Depot, and the guy's like, "Hey, you want a free estimate?" Like that was me, 13 plus years ago. And but the good thing was I was talking with people about solar all day long, so I really built up that muscle in the first year or so. Door knocking does that too, because you're talking about solar all day long. So you want yourself in a situation, whether it's a calling situation or going to a lot of appointments, where you can build that repetition up. And then, Wayne was talking about, statistical relevance. So it's like, if you only met with 2 people and let's say you closed one deal, then it's like, well, you could think, well, I have a 50% close rate. But if you only close no deals, you say, well, I have a 0% close rate. But in order to get a statistically relevant, you have to say more. Really, you have to say, well, I met with 8 to 10 people a week for 2 months, and my average close rate, if I was met 8 people a week, I was closing 2 a week. So in reality, I had a 20% close rate, right? So like, you really needed to figure out like what your real numbers are, otherwise it's just sort of guessing. And if you don't have enough, if you're only seeing 3 people a month, then it's like, well, I closed one, I got a 33% close rate. It's like, well, you're closing your mom doesn't count. You know what I mean? Told you statistics. Like that's skewing things. So all right, guys, we have 5 minutes. Is any other last minute stuff? I know we had a smaller group today, so
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
I know you've been going through this, but for, if I'm gonna invest the money on leads, who would you recommend me going to?
Leads? Like,
Yeah.
are you talking about buying actual, like buying leads, not just buying a list?
A list or leads, whatever you recommend to get it off the ground. I'm gonna have to start, either get somebody in here calling, I'm gonna have to call, or I'm not sure. I mean, that's the only way, is you gotta go off the phone, right?
I work I work with Sun Operative, and I do work with Jesse Bauer for lead lists. Both of those guys I've worked with in the past, and I've had people have success. In terms of buying leads, the one company which, I still like Solar Reviews, like they're still good. You are going to be in a competitive situation if you buy from them, but you are going to get quality. Like you definitely will, Ray. Solar Reviews does a lot to sort of qualify and get rid of in order to even submit their form, it takes someone like several minutes to even submit a form, initial form for them. So they make it hard on purpose.
Okay. So it's gonna be a higher cost lead, but a better lead, and then they give that out to 2-3 people?
They do. Yeah. My only issue with them right now is not with them. My only concern, that's what I was trying to say. My concern with you, Ray, is when you're buying leads like that, you're buying it at more of a retail. So you can easily spend $1,000 on 10 leads, right? Well,
Wow.
if you're gonna have that same $1,000 and you guys haven't dialed in your sales processes yet, that same $1,000 may be better off on a list and just having someone in your office, if they have the time, or hiring a VA to call through that list and turning that $1,000 into, 10 or 20 appointments type of thing.
Okay, and then where I get the list from?
So like I said, Sun Operative is one place you can buy lists from there. Freddie's our contact over there. And so Leah, if you can have a note, we'll send this out to, I'll send you an intro to him. And actually, you know what? I got off the call last week and I was so busy. I still owe you. I have the other gentleman on the call. I want to set the two of you up for his sales org, because I know he said he may be interested to work with you for sales on that.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'll
Okay.
send it out to you to get you in touch with Freddie over there directly to get a list, because that may be a good way for you to start. At least that way you guys are building repetition, and I don't want to see you waste $1,000 on leads on buying from like Solar Reviews where you haven't dialed in your, all the sales processes yet.
Right, understood.
Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, if I'm not stepping on any toes, I don't know if me and him are in different states, but I would be interested too.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's not stepping on any toes. North Carolina. So I think they have good so here's the thing. I know North Carolina is good. I'm trying to think through the states that have like a high enough volume where these lists are available. California and Sacramento absolutely has it, but North Carolina does. South Carolina is just picking up now too. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, guys. It was wonderful seeing you all again today, and yeah, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, guys. All right, bye-bye.
All
Bye,
right.
Joe.
All right. Thank you so much.